What if the greatest pain in your life is not caused by what happened, but by the silent argument you continue to have with what has already happened? There are moments when life changes without asking for our permission. A person leaves, a relationship ends, a door closes, the body grows older, an opportunity disappears. A mistake cannot be undone, and although the event may have passed long ago, the mind returns to it again and again, as though repeating the pain could somehow rewrite the past. Perhaps you know this struggle. You wake in the morning, and before your feet touch the floor, your mind remembers what you lost. You move through the day, carrying invisible conversations, imagining what you should have said, what another person should have done, or how different your life might be if only one moment had unfolded another way. On the outside, the world continues. Birds cross the morning sky, rivers move toward the sea, seasons change without hesitation. Yet inside you, time seems to remain frozen around one wound. The Buddha's wisdom offers a quiet revelation. Suffering begins to loosen its grip when we stop demanding that reality becomes something it can no longer be. This does not mean that your pain is unreal. It does not mean that you must approve of what happened, pretend that it was fair, or force yourself to feel peaceful before you are ready. Acceptance is not surrendering your dignity. It is surrendering the exhausting battle against a moment that has already entered the past. If these teachings speak to something within you, subscribe to Buddhist wisdom and join this peaceful community. And in the comments, write the affirmation, "I release what I cannot change." Let these words become the first gentle step of your journey. Long ago, in a monastery hidden among mist-covered mountains, there lived a young monk named Tenzin. Before entering the monastery, he had been deeply attached to his older brother. They had grown together beside a wide river, sharing food, dreams, and the quiet certainty that they would always remain close. But one winter, his brother died unexpectedly. Tenzin entered the monastery believing that silence and meditation would remove his grief. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw his brother's face. Every sound of flowing water carried him back to their childhood. He became angry with his mind for remembering, and angry with life for taking away the person he loved. One evening, after watching Tenzin struggle for many months, an elderly master invited him to walk through the forest. A storm had passed the night before. Broken branches covered the earth, and rainwater still trembled on the bamboo leaves. The master stopped beside a fallen tree and asked, "Why has this tree fallen?" "The storm was too strong," Tenzin answered. "Then command it to stand again." Tenzin looked at him in confusion. "Master, that is impossible." The old monk nodded. "And yet every day, you command yesterday to become different." Those words entered Tenzin's heart, like moonlight entering a dark room. The master did not tell him to forget his brother. He did not ask him to stop grieving. Instead, he showed him that beneath the natural pain of loss, there was another pain, the pain created by resistance. One pain said, "I miss him." The other said, "This should never have happened." The first was love mourning what it could no longer touch. The second was the mind trying to fight reality. This distinction can change everything. Pain is a part of being human. Suffering is what grows when the mind holds pain tightly and builds a home around it. Pain moves like a storm. It arrives, shakes the trees, fills the sky, and eventually passes. But resistance follows the storm into memory. It gathers the fallen branches, carries them everywhere, and asks why the forest cannot look exactly as it did before. You may not be able to prevent every storm, but you can learn to stop carrying its broken branches. In Buddhist teaching, all conditioned things are impermanent. Every meeting contains the possibility of separation. Every beginning moves quietly toward an ending. Youth changes into age. Praise becomes silence. Certainty gives way to mystery. Even mountains, which appear eternal to human eyes, are slowly transformed by wind and rain. At first, impermanence may sound frightening. The ego wants stability. It wants guarantees. It whispers, "Let this person remain forever. Let this success never fade. Let my body never change. Let my plans unfold exactly as I imagined." But life does not make such promises. The river does not hold one shape. The sky does not preserve a single cloud. The lotus blooms because it does not resist the season that calls it open, and when its petals fall, the earth receives them without judgment. Impermanence is not merely the reason things disappear. It is also the reason healing is possible. Because everything changes, grief can soften. Because everything changes, the heart can open again. Because everything changes, the person you are today does not have to remain imprisoned by the pain of yesterday. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you keep your palm open, the sand rests gently there. But if fear makes you close your fist, the grains begin slipping through your fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the more you lose, and the more your hand begins to hurt. This is how attachment often works. We do not suffer only because something changed. We suffer because we believe that by tightening our grip, we can prevent change from completing its natural movement. Non-attachment does not mean becoming cold or refusing to love. It means loving without trying to own. It means appreciating what is present while understanding that nothing belongs to us forever. Not people, not possessions, not achievements, not even the identity we have constructed around ourselves. You are not asked to push life away. You are invited to hold it with open hands. But how do you open your hands when the heart is still wounded? How do you accept a reality that feels unbearable? You begin not by changing the past, but by becoming fully present with what is happening inside you now. Sit quietly, even for a few minutes. Feel the breath entering and leaving your body. Notice where the pain lives. Perhaps it appears as pressure in your chest, heaviness behind your eyes, or tension in your throat. Do not immediately name it as weakness. Do not tell yourself that it should be gone by now. Simply recognize it. This is sadness. This is anger. This is fear. This is the wish that life had been different. When you observe an emotion without becoming the emotion, a small space begins to appear. You realize that sadness is present, but sadness is not the whole of you. Anger is moving through you, but anger is not your permanent identity. Thoughts rise and fall like birds crossing an endless sky. The birds may be dark, loud, and restless, but the sky is never wounded by their passing. Your awareness is that sky, and as you learn to rest within it, you begin to discover that peace does not require the past to change. Peace begins when your relationship with the past changes. This change rarely happens in a single moment. More often, it unfolds quietly, like sunrise spreading across a valley. At first, there is only a thin line of light. The mountains remain dark, the air remains cold, and the path ahead is difficult to see. But if you wait with patience, the light slowly touches everything. Emotional healing happens in the same way. You may understand acceptance today and still feel resistance tomorrow. You may meditate peacefully in the morning and find yourself overwhelmed by regret at night. This does not mean that you have failed. It means that healing is not a straight road. It is a living process, moving through seasons of clarity, confusion, release, and return. Be patient with yourself. A wound does not close more quickly because you criticize it. A frightened animal does not come closer when you shout at it. In the same way, the suffering within you will not dissolve because you declare war upon it. It needs compassion. Many people offer kindness to everyone except themselves. They forgive the exhaustion of others, but condemn their own. They understand why another person is grieving, but secretly believe that they should have recovered already. They speak gently to a wounded friend, yet speak harshly to their own heart. The path of freedom begins when you stop treating yourself as an enemy. There was once an anonymous traveler who arrived at a small Zen temple after walking for many days. His clothes were covered with dust, and his face carried the fatigue of someone who had not slept peacefully for years. He told the temple's master, "I made a choice that destroyed the life I was supposed to have. I cannot return to the moment before it happened. Every day, I punish myself so that I will never forget what I did." The master poured tea into 2 cups and led the traveler into a garden. There, beneath an old pine tree, stood a large stone. "Lift that stone," the master said. The traveler struggled, but eventually raised it against his chest. "Now walk with it." They crossed the garden once, then twice. By the 3rd crossing, the traveler's arms were trembling. "May I put it down?" he asked. The master looked at him. "Will putting it down erase the distance you have already carried it?" "No." "Will carrying it longer repair the road behind you?" "No." "Then what wisdom is there in continuing?" The traveler lowered the stone. For the first time in many years, he understood that punishment and responsibility were not the same thing. True responsibility looks clearly at the past, learns what must be learned, repairs what can be repaired, and then chooses not to repeat the same harm. Self-punishment, however, remains trapped in a circle. It hurts the same person repeatedly while changing nothing. Perhaps you have confused suffering with loyalty. You may believe that if you stop hurting, you will betray someone you lost. You may think that releasing guilt means pretending your mistake did not matter. You may fear that moving forward will make your love, your disappointment, or your sacrifice meaningless. But healing does not erase meaning. It changes the form in which meaning lives. You can remember, without reopening the wound, every morning. You can honor someone without abandoning your own future. You can regret a decision without turning the rest of your life into a prison sentence. You can carry wisdom from the fire without continuing to stand inside the flames. This is one of the quiet workings of karma. Karma is not a mysterious system of punishment waiting to strike you. At its most practical level, it teaches that intentions and actions have consequences. What you repeatedly think, say, and do shapes the direction of your life. You cannot change every cause that has already been planted. Some consequences must be met, but in this moment, you are planting new seeds. If resentment is watered each day, resentment grows. If blame is watered, blame grows. If mindful awareness, patience, compassion, and wise action are watered, they also grow. The past may explain the garden you are standing in, but what you cultivate today influences what the garden becomes. This is why acceptance is not passive. It is an intelligent use of energy. When you stop spending your strength arguing with what cannot be changed, that strength becomes available for what can still be transformed. You cannot change the words someone spoke to you years ago, but you can change the voice with which you speak to yourself today. You cannot force someone to recognize your worth, but you can stop offering your peace to their judgment. You cannot return to your youth, but you can meet the age you are now with gratitude. You cannot recover every missed opportunity, but you can become fully awake to the opportunity standing quietly before you. Wisdom asks a simple question: what is still within my hands? Not everything is within your hands. This is painful for the ego, which wants control over outcomes, people, time, and uncertainty. Yet something far more meaningful remains within your influence: the quality of your response. Between what happens and what you become because of it, there is a sacred space. Mindfulness helps you enter that space. When a painful memory arises, the untrained mind follows it immediately. One thought becomes 10. The memory turns into an imaginary conversation. The conversation becomes anger. The anger becomes a judgment about your entire life. Soon, you are no longer sitting in your room on a quiet evening. You are mentally living inside a moment that ended years ago. Mindfulness gently interrupts this journey. You notice the memory and say, "A memory has appeared." You notice the body tightening and say, "My body is reacting." You feel your breath and return to where you actually are. The floor beneath you is here. The air touching your skin is here. The distant sound outside your window is here. Your breathing is happening now. Life is not taking place inside the memory. Life is taking place in this breath. This does not make the memory disappear, but it prevents the memory from becoming your entire world. If this teaching is helping you see your pain with greater clarity, take a quiet moment to like this video so it can reach someone else who may be fighting an unchangeable past. And in the comments, write, "I choose peace over resistance." Do not write it as an empty phrase. Let it become a promise to yourself. There is an ancient simplicity in returning to the breath. The breath never asks you to repair yesterday before it enters. It never demands certainty about tomorrow before it leaves. It comes, it goes, and through this endless rhythm, it teaches the whole truth of impermanence. Breathe in and receive this moment. Breathe out and release your demand that another moment should replace it. In this simple practice, you begin to understand that letting go is not one dramatic act. It is 1,000 small decisions not to follow suffering when it invites you back into the same familiar darkness. At first, that darkness may feel strangely comforting. Pain can become familiar, and the familiar often feels safer than the unknown. Even when suffering hurts us, we may cling to it because we know who we are inside it. Without the old grievance, who would we become? Without the regret, what would fill the empty space? Without the identity of the wounded one, how would we explain the years we have lived? The ego does not only attach itself to pleasure, it can also attach itself to pain. It builds an identity from what happened. It says, "I am the one who was abandoned. I am the one who failed. I am the one who was betrayed. 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 A storm may pass through a forest and leave deep marks. Some trees may fall, some paths may disappear beneath water and mud. Yet the forest does not call itself only by the name of the storm. Beneath the wet earth, roots remain alive. New shoots rise through broken branches. Birds eventually return to the trees that are still standing. You are also more than the storm that passed through you. To discover this, you must sometimes enter silence, not the silence of isolation, where the mind is left alone to repeat its fears, but the living silence of awareness. This silence does not reject sound. It simply stops adding unnecessary noise to what is already present. Sit somewhere peaceful. It may be beside a window in the early morning, beneath a tree, or in a quiet room after the world has gone to sleep. Let your body become still. Do not ask the silence to give you an immediate answer. Allow it to reveal how much of your suffering is being maintained by thoughts that have never been questioned. Perhaps the mind says, "My life would have been perfect if that had not happened." Can you know this with certainty? Perhaps it says, "I will never be happy again." Is this a truth, or is it fear speaking from a wounded moment? Perhaps it says, "I cannot have peace until that person apologizes." Must another person truly unlock the door of your inner prison, or have you been holding the key without recognizing it? Self-awareness begins when we stop believing every thought simply because it appears in our own mind. Thoughts are shaped by fear, habit, memory, and desire. They can speak with great authority while knowing very little about what tomorrow may bring. The moon reflected in a disturbed pond appears broken into fragments, but the moon itself has never been broken. When the water becomes still, the reflection becomes whole again. Your mind is like that pond. When regret, fear, and resistance continually disturb its surface, your life appears shattered. You may believe that you have lost your wholeness, but beneath the movement of thought, there remains an awareness that has not been damaged. Meditation does not create this wholeness. It allows you to remember it. One rainy season, a woman named Mira came to stay near a remote monastery. She had spent years caring for her mother through a long illness. After her mother died, Mira was consumed by guilt. She remembered every moment when she had been impatient, every day when exhaustion had made her speak without tenderness, and every small act she believed she should have done differently. Each morning, she carried flowers to the monastery pond, but instead of placing them on the water, she held them tightly and wept. A monk who tended the garden noticed her ritual. One morning, he sat beside her and asked, "For whom are the flowers?" "For my mother," Mira replied. "Then why do you never release them?" Mira looked down at the crushed petals in her hands. "Because letting them go feels like losing her again." The monk picked up a fallen lotus petal and placed it upon the water. The pond received it gently. "Love does not disappear when the hand opens," he said. "Only the struggle of holding changes." Mira slowly placed her flowers on the pond. They drifted away beneath the rain, not as symbols of forgetting, but as an offering of forgiveness. There are things you may need to forgive in yourself, not because they were perfect, but because you were human. You acted with the understanding, strength, and awareness available to you at that time. Perhaps today you would act differently. That difference is evidence that you have grown. Wisdom does not ask you to judge your former self using everything your suffering has since taught you. It asks you to learn, make amends where possible, and bring greater consciousness into the life that remains. You may also need to forgive someone who will never apologize. Forgiveness does not declare that their actions were acceptable. It does not require renewed trust or continued closeness. Sometimes compassion and distance must exist together. Sometimes the most peaceful response is to wish someone freedom from their ignorance while no longer allowing their behavior into your life. Forgiveness means refusing to let another person's unawareness continue living inside your nervous system. It is like removing a thorn from your foot. You do not remove it because the path deserves forgiveness. You remove it because you deserve to walk without carrying the injury deeper. Boundaries can therefore be an expression of compassion. Non-attachment does not mean tolerating everything. It means seeing clearly, without hatred, and acting wisely. A bamboo tree bends in the wind, but it remains rooted. Its flexibility is not weakness. Its strength comes from knowing when to yield and where to stand. Accepting what you cannot change includes accepting that some people may never understand you. Some relationships cannot return to what they were. Some explanations will never arrive. Some questions may remain unanswered. The mind believes closure must come from outside. It waits for a final conversation, a confession, an apology, or a perfect explanation. But life often leaves doors half open. Inner freedom begins when you stop standing before those doors, waiting for someone else to close them. You can give yourself permission to leave the doorway. You can say, "I may never understand why this happened, but I will not sacrifice the rest of my life to the question." This is not indifference. It is mature acceptance. The mountain does not need to understand the storm before becoming still again. The earth does not demand an explanation from winter before allowing spring to arrive. Life is filled with mysteries that thought cannot solve. Peace comes not from solving every mystery, but from no longer making your peace dependent upon the answer. And when the desire for an answer returns, as it sometimes will, meet it with compassion. Place a hand over your heart. Feel the warmth of your own presence. Say quietly, "I know you want certainty. I know you want the past to make sense. But we are safe enough to live without knowing everything." In this way, you become the refuge you once searched for in the world. Becoming your own refuge does not mean that you will never need another person. It means you no longer abandon yourself whenever life becomes uncertain. You learn to sit beside your own sorrow as a wise friend would sit beside you, not with hurried advice, not with judgment, but with a presence gentle enough to say, "You do not have to face this moment alone. I am here." From that inner refuge, gratitude begins to return. Gratitude is sometimes misunderstood as the denial of pain. People may tell you to focus on what is good when your heart is not ready, as though gratitude were a curtain to hide suffering. But true gratitude does not cover the wound. It recognizes that even while the wound is healing, life is still quietly offering itself to you. There is still water to drink. There is still air entering your lungs. Somewhere, sunlight is touching the surface of a river. Somewhere, a bird is beginning its first song of the morning. There may still be a person who cares for you, a place where your body can rest, or a simple task your hands are able to complete. These things may appear ordinary, but the awakened heart understands that the ordinary is never insignificant. The cup of tea you drink today will never exist in precisely the same way again. This sunrise will not return. This breath is the only breath that can be lived now. When you become present to simple things, suffering loses its power to convince you that the past is the only place where meaning exists. A seeker once asked a Zen master, "How can I begin my life again when so much has already been lost?" The master pointed toward a small patch of earth where bamboo had begun growing after a forest fire. "Does the bamboo ask the ashes for permission to rise?" he said. The seeker remained silent. The master continued, "It does not deny the fire. It grows because the fire is no longer happening. Perhaps the fire in your own life is no longer happening either. Perhaps what continues to burn is the image you carry inside your mind. You visit it, feed it, and feel its heat as though the flames were still surrounding you. Today, you may begin to distinguish between what is happening and what you are remembering. Ask yourself gently, is the danger here now, or is my body reacting to something that has already passed? Then look around you. Name what you see. Feel the support beneath your body. Listen to the nearest sound and then the farthest. Take one slow breath. Let the present moment show your nervous system that time has moved forward. Your healing does not require you to forget the fire. It asks you to notice the bamboo. This is the simplicity of the Buddhist path, seeing clearly what is here, releasing what no longer needs to be carried, and responding to this moment with wisdom and compassion. Simplicity protects the mind from creating additional suffering. When a problem appears, ask whether action is possible. If action is possible, take one calm and skillful step. If no action is possible, practice letting go. Worrying is not the same as preparing. Replaying is not the same as learning. Controlling is not the same as caring. Sometimes the wisest action is a conversation. Sometimes it is an apology. Sometimes it is leaving. Sometimes it is resting, waiting, or saying nothing until your mind becomes clear. Silence can prevent a temporary emotion from creating a permanent consequence. Patience can keep one difficult season from becoming a desperate decision. Self-awareness can reveal whether you are acting from wisdom or merely reacting from an old wound. This is how karma is transformed, not through fear of punishment, but through greater awareness in each new choice. The past may have placed you at a particular point on the road, but it cannot walk the next step for you. That step belongs to the present. Imagine yourself standing beside a river at dawn. In your hands, you carry stones. Each stone bears the name of something you could not change: a lost year, a broken promise, a person who left, a mistake, an illness, an unanswered question, a version of yourself that no longer exists. You have carried them for so long that their weight feels natural. Your arms ache, but you have forgotten what it is like to walk without them. Now, one by one, place the stones beside the river. You do not need to throw them away with anger. You do not need to pretend they were never part of your journey. Place them down with respect. Say inwardly, "This happened." Then say, "It is no longer happening." And finally, "I am allowed to continue." Notice the space that opens in your hands. This space is not emptiness, it is possibility. With open hands, you can receive the life that is still coming toward you. You can touch another person with tenderness. You can plant something new. You can create, serve, forgive, and begin again. You can hold today without crushing it beneath the weight of yesterday. There will still be moments when old pain returns. A familiar song, a place, a date, or a dream may reopen a door you believed was closed. Do not be afraid. Healing does not mean never remembering. It means remembering without losing yourself. When that moment comes, breathe slowly and whisper, "This too is impermanent." No feeling remains forever. No storm occupies the entire sky. Clouds may hide the moon, but they cannot destroy its light. Winter may silence the forest, but beneath the frozen earth, spring is already preparing its return. Trust the seasons of your own heart. You do not have to force peace. You only have to stop feeding the war. Stop arguing with the unchangeable. Stop asking the past to offer you a different childhood, a different decision, a different ending, or a different person. Bow gently to what has been. Take the wisdom it left behind. Then turn toward the path that is still beneath your feet. Your life is not over because one part of it did not unfold as you hoped. A book is not meaningless because one chapter contains sorrow. The page before you is still unwritten, and the awareness with which you write it has been deepened by everything you survived. Let your pain make you more compassionate, not more closed. Let your losses teach you to appreciate what remains. Let uncertainty teach you presence. Let impermanence teach you gratitude. Let forgiveness release the energy that resentment has held captive. Let silence return you to yourself. And let acceptance become the doorway through which inner freedom enters. If this journey has brought even a little peace to your heart, subscribe to Buddhist wisdom and share these teachings with someone who may be carrying what they can no longer change. In the comments, leave this final affirmation: I honor the past, but I choose to live now. Carry those words with you beyond this video. When regret awakens, return to them. When fear tries to pull you backward, return to your breath. When the mind demands control, remember the river. It does not resist every stone in its path. It moves around them, over them, and sometimes gently through them, always continuing toward the sea. You, too, can continue. May you release the burdens that were never meant to remain in your hands. May you forgive the person you once were and welcome the person you are becoming. May you meet change with courage, loss with compassion, uncertainty with patience, and each new morning with gratitude. May your mind become peaceful, your heart become compassionate, and your journey be guided by wisdom.